So I got splintered, and I got splintered really bad. I mean, I had about 18 to 20 splinters in my right hand, mainly in the ring finger and the pinky finger. I went through multiple different ways to get the splinters out. Most of them did not work. What one did. So today I want to go over my story of what I went through with all these splinters. So hopefully you can learn from my story and not have to go through the whole ordeal. Or one of the things that I tried may work for your splinters that didn't work for me. So let's get started. Hello everyone, I'm Dr. Jasprit Singh, and today we're talking about my splinters. I got so many splinters in my right hand about 2 weeks ago. So I was opening a wooden door that encloses my AC unit in the backyard. As I grabbed the door on top on the wooden part and tried to pull it back, it got stuck at the bottom. My whole hand just kind of scraped right over that door. So I got some splinters in my index finger and middle finger. They were very small, but I got most of the splinters in my ring finger and index finger, and there were a lot. Like I said before, there were about 18 to 20 splinters that I could count on my fingers at that time. So obviously it was very irritating and very painful right when it happened. So here are the steps that I took to see if I can get my splinters out. First thing what I did was when I came back inside the house, I cleaned my fingers, especially the ring finger and the pinky finger where I had most of the splinters, with hydrogen peroxide. And I did that to prevent any infection from brewing, as I had foreign objects, going to my skin. So always safety first. So after I cleaned the area with hydrogen peroxide, I inspected the area very closely. There were a lot of really fine splinters. Some of them were long, some of them were super short. I have some photos that I can put up for you guys so you can take a look at the splinters itself as well. Normally when I get a splinter, I can use a tweezer and kind of just tweeze and pull it out. So on this occasion, I tried using the tweezers, but these splinters were almost just embedded underneath the skin, and I couldn't grab any end of the splinter with the tweezer to be able to pull it out. So next thing what I did was I took a fine sewing needle, I disinfected the needle, and tried to get the ends of the splinters up so I can grab them with the tweezers. I tried this for some time with a few different splinters. On some of the larger splinters on my, pinky finger and my ring finger, I was able to get the end up. But when I tried to pull the splinters out with the tweezers, they would just break because they were so thin and hair-like almost that I just couldn't pull them out as a whole. Which was also an issue because now I took part of the splinter out and the other part that's actually deeper inside my skin still stayed inside the finger. So at this point, frustrated, not able to get them out, I turned to what a lot of people do in this situation. I turned to Dr. Google. I know. So I tried to look up some ways to remove the splinters online that people have tried and has worked for them. There's a few things I tried, so I'm going to go over some of those and let you know how well they worked or how well they did not work. The first technique that was mentioned online was taking a piece of duct tape and wrapping it around the finger and leaving it there for about 30 minutes. And really the idea behind this is that the tape will grab onto the end of the splinter, and as you pull the tape off, the splinter should come out, in theory. So I put the tape on, I left it on for 30 minutes. You're supposed to remove the tape in the opposite direction. So when I remove the tape in the opposite direction, I'm actually pulling the tape in the same direction splinters went in the skin, so it'll be easier for them to come out. And as you guys guessed it did not work. Part of the reason it didn't work is because my splinters were just embedded underneath the skin. There was no part of them, even showing outside for the tape to even grab onto. So that obviously was not going to work for me. So the next technique I looked at online that a lot of people mentioned was using banana peels or potato slices. Now, banana peels, I read, had some enzymes that can help soften the skin and bring up the ends of the splinters, up onto the skin so you can pull them out with tweezers. So I thought that was intriguing, so I thought I'd give that one a try. Okay. So I had one of my family members put on some banana peels on my fingers and then put duct tape on them. You're supposed to leave them on there for anywhere from 6 to 12 hours is what it said online. So I left it on there for about 6 hours, and then I took it off thereafter. The skin was definitely pretty soft because we had a banana peel on there for a long period of time. But the splinters were still there, still embedded under the skin. No part of them was showing above the skin at all. If you guys are liking the content of this video and want to see more videos just like this, consider liking the video and subscribing to the channel. It helps the channel grow. Another technique that was mentioned online was actually soaking your hand in hydrogen peroxide. Now, I would not recommend soaking your whole hand in just pure hydrogen peroxide. So I took some water, half hydrogen peroxide, mixed it together. I soaked my hand in there for some time. I would say maybe 20-30 minutes. It's supposed to help soften the skin, and again, online it says it's supposed to bring up the ends of the splinters, so you can pull them out, but I don't know how that's supposed to magically bring them up. So I thought it was worth a try, so I did, and obviously it did soften the skin, but nothing else happened. So at this point, running out my options, I figured I need professional help. So I went to an urgent care to see if the doctor there can remove the splinters for me. They initially put my hand in an antibiotic bath to kind of disinfect the hand and let the skin soften. And afterwards, the doctor came in, looked at the finger, especially, the ring finger and the pinky finger where most of the damage was done by the splinters. And she attempted to remove them with a scalpel. So she took a scalpel and was trying to run up the ends of each splinter. So she was able to get a few of the ends of the splinters out. But then she would pull them with a tweezer, and same thing would happen. They would just break right in the middle. Only a small part would come out, and the rest would just embed into the skin and stay there. And that back part of the splinter, like I said before, was actually deeper. So it was even harder to get that part out, even with a scalpel at that point. So she did about, I would say, 2-3 on a pinky finger and tried 1 or 2 on my ring finger. And at that point, she was like, these are just impossible to get out. So at that point, we decided the best course of action is to just do Epsom salt baths. The Epsom salt bath are supposed to help soften the skin to allow the splinters to come out naturally. And because I had poked around on my fingers with the needle, and the doctor at the urgent care poked around with the scalpel quite extensively, she put me on some antibiotics as to prevent any infection from happening from all the poking around and foreign objects being in my fingers. So for the Epsom salt bath, I took some warm water, I put some Epsom salt in there and let my hand soak in there for about 20 to 30 minutes, 3 times a day. And as I did the baths every day, I started to see a change. And the change was not the splinter ends were coming up for me to pull out with tweezers. Actually, the splinters itself were getting smaller in size, lengthwise and diameter-wise from what I could tell. So as the days went on, those splinters got smaller and smaller and smaller. When I'm making this video, I still have a very small amount of splinters. I'm not sure if you guys can see those, but they're almost pretty much gone at this point. I have no pain. It doesn't cause me any irritation. I'm still doing the Epsom salt bath to make sure they completely go away. So for me, the best course of action was the Epsom salt baths. That kind of helped, I would say, almost dissolve the splinters, as how I would explain it. That's just how I could see with my eye. Every day that I would check on the splinters, they were just smaller, less in size and diameter, like I said, and in length. It didn't really come out like, people were saying online, or the doctor said at the urgent care, they were not really like popping out, but they were, slowly getting smaller. So that made me happy. I was not getting as much pain and they were getting smaller. So that's my story with the splinters and how I tackled getting rid of those 18 to 20 splinters. So hopefully my experience gives you some help if you ever, God forbid, get a splinter, that it'll be easier for you to get out based on my experience, what has worked and what has not worked. Now, normally, like I said, tweezers work the best, but only if you can see a part of the splinter sticking out of the skin. And I've also used like a sewing needle, like a fine needle, like I talked about in the past. That actually has worked well for me in the past. But in those occasions, I have like one splinter that I have to remove with the needle. And, I spent whatever 15, 20, 30 minutes taking that one splinter out. And on this occasion, I had 18, 20. And by the time I was fiddling with the needle, trying to get them out, and only got 2 halves out, it was frustrating. So it was not easy getting those things out. And on top of that, the antibiotics the doctor gave me, they were pretty strong. They caused me some stomach pain, some diarrhea. So I had to start taking some probiotics. Now I'm feeling a lot better in terms of that as well. And I finished my antibiotic course already. Thank you so much for watching and stay healthy.